This past Sunday, July the 27th, the Shaolin Temple put out an official statement saying that its Abbot Shi Yongxin was under investigation for appropriation of funds. It also said that he was accused of serious misconduct, having multiple mistresses and illegitimate children. The next day, the Buddhist Association of China announced it was revoking his status in the monastic community, essentially derobing him. Just the next day, Tuesday the 29th of July, the Buddhist Association then announced the appointment of a new abbot of the Shaolin Temple, a man named Shi Yinle. So who is Shi Yinle? What's his background? And what could his appointment mean for the future of Shaolin? That's what we're going to look at in this video. Shi Yinle's secular name is Yinqing. He was born in July 1966 in Tongbai County in Henan Province. He became a monk in 1982 at the age of just 16, and the following year received full ordination at the Chinese Temple in Nanjing. After completing monastic training, he went on to study at the Chinese Buddhist Academy, then graduating in 1990. He then served in the Henan Provincial Buddhist Association, where he eventually rose to a leadership role. In 2003, he was then assigned to manage the White Horse Temple, or Baima Si, in Luoyang City in Henan. White Horse Temple is regarded as the earliest official Buddhist temple in China, founded during the Eastern Han Dynasty in 68 AD. According to tradition, it was built to house scriptures and monks from India, and is often referred to as the cradle of Chinese Buddhism because it marks the point where Buddhism first took root in China. 2 years after taking charge, in 2005, Shi Yinle was formally appointed as the Abbot of the White Horse Temple, a position he served until this year, 2025. Now, this story of the removal of Shi Yongxin and the appointment of this new abbot really highlights the importance of getting access to good objective media. And that's getting more and more difficult in this world where so many different media outlets are becoming more and more polarized, with their own corporate interests, their own backings. And so in order to get an accurate view of the news, we need to look at all sides. And that's why I use an app called Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. For every news source, you can see if they have a political bias, how reliable their reporting is, and who owns them. You can verify your information and know where the news is coming from. With Ground News, you can see what the media is exaggerating, sensationalizing, over or under reporting. You can see who funds each publication, compare coverage, and think critically about the information you consume. Go to check.ground.news/monkeystealspeach to check it out now. If you subscribe for my link, you get 40% off the Vantage. During his time at White Horse Temple, Shi Yinle became known both for his work preserving the temple itself and for his building international connections. Most of his work preserving the temple involved the restoration of various historic halls and courtyards, and one of his biggest projects was the creation of an Indian-style Buddhist hall, which received funding from India and opened in the mid-2000s. The project was part of formal cooperation between both countries and was intended to highlight the temple's historic importance as a starting point for Buddhism's arrival from India into China. A key priority for him was also re-establishing the White Horse Temple as a center of international Buddhist exchange. He hosted a number of international Buddhist forums which were attended by monks and scholars from around the world, notably from countries such as Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, and Japan. He led delegations from the temple overseas to participate in many religious and cultural events. During one trip to Thailand, he even received an honorary doctorate in recognition for his organization of these exchanges. Now, what this change means for the Shaolin Temple is not yet clear. Some commentators suggest his background at White Horse Temple could indicate a shift towards a greater focus on traditional Buddhist practice and scholarship. It could mean more international cultural exchange, particularly with other Buddhist countries, and perhaps less emphasis on commercial activities than in recent years. However, these are only possibilities, and how Shaolin Temple evolves under Shi Yinle's leadership remains to be seen. Now, if you ask me, I think these predictions are pretty accurate. I think that the Shaolin Temple is going to move more into a direction of promoting itself as a religious center. It's going to move more towards this whole idea of it being the birthplace of Chan Buddhism, and it's going to get engaged in a lot more religious dialogues. It's going to position itself as a force of peace and unity in the world. I think there's going to actually be less focus on martial arts within the Shaolin Temple and more focus on the Buddhist aspect and the religious aspect. Now, I've been speaking to some of my contacts at the Shaolin Temple and in Dongfeng County, and there is a lot of optimism. People are indeed, looking to this new abbot with a lot of hope in reviving the image of Shaolin Temple and bringing it back to its roots as a religious institution. Now, it's important to remember that the abbot was essentially installed and appointed by the Chinese government. And so, he is going to have to toe the party line. How much he's going to be able to shake things up and change things is yet to be seen. I do believe that he is going to take the Shaolin Temple in a different direction. I believe that, the government themselves have been looking at all of this corruption and over-commercialization, and the previous abbot was essentially getting too powerful, and the Chinese government doesn't like it when anybody gets too powerful in China, and they do have to bring them in check. And I think they were just waiting for a certain moment to do that, and something has clearly happened that was the moment for them to strike in and take him down. Now, I do think that this new abbot is going to bring a much more scholarly approach to Shaolin. I think we are going to see the changes that I've mentioned. And I honestly think it is going to be a very good thing for Shaolin. I'm very optimistic about the future of Shaolin, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the direction it's going to go while working within the limitations of the system of the Chinese state. This next chapter will indeed be shaped by how the new abbot balances the roles of both a religious institution and a global cultural icon, and whether or not he really changes the direction set during the past 25 years. At this early stage, it's still too soon to know whether this change will significantly alter Shaolin's image or operations. Shi Yinle's appointment marks the end of one era at Shaolin and the beginning of another. As this story develops, many people will be watching closely to see how the temple defines its future. So what do you think this leadership change means for the future of Shaolin? Do you think Shi Yinle is going to bring about big change within Shaolin, or do you think it's going to be business as usual? I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on it, so please let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you haven't seen it already, I previously released a documentary called The Last Masters of Shaolin, which Joel and I screened in a film festival in Okinawa, Japan last year. In this documentary, we went around Dongfeng and the villages around the Shaolin Temple, seeking out old masters to find out how they've been preserving the traditional folk martial arts of Shaolin and how that differs from the standardized versions that have been preserved in the Shaolin Temple. Now, I think that there's so many misconceptions out there about what Shaolin Kung Fu is, and I think that this documentary did a really, really good job of clearing that up. So please check that out. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.